Hello, everyone. This is Truth and Oneness Discussions with Aquarius.
And Scorpio.
Just discussing various topics, trying to bring ideas or the truth to people to kind of think about themselves, and they can do more research, kind of help enlighten the world, because we really need that right now, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so I think today we're going to talk a little bit just about vegetarianism and just basically about food in general that we eat, but we're going to focus kind of on vegetarian and veganism. We can start. Are you a vegetarian, Scorpio?
I
Or vegan?
became a vegetarian about 8 months ago, and probably about a month ago I transitioned over to being a vegan.
So you're like 100% vegan?
Except for the eggs part, I guess.
You still eat eggs.
Yes.
Do you know, is there any particular reason? Well, I could say this. You probably did it because I said we should do this, right? We should become vegetarian. But is there isn't there any reason behind it for you? Why? What do you think about being vegetarian, I guess, as opposed to what you were before? What were you before?
Growing up, pretty much meat was in every meal we ate. So we ate a lot of junk food, and a lot of people probably know it was like the pink slime meat kind of stuff because it was cheap, so we all ate that kind of stuff.
Taco smell meat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was like, and we tried vegetarian stuff before. My mother was a horrible cook, so it's like anytime she made anything, it was pretty disgusting. So it's like if she got away from meat, which had salts and fats in it already, because she didn't really season food, it's like it just made it that much worse. So
it made you kind of more wanting to eat meat because you probably thought that was the only tasty food out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So have you noticed anything different now that you're vegetarian for the last 8 months or so, or what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely can think more clearly. It's like I have less issues with being ill or like recovering from illness, working out and stuff like that. I used to actually be like hardcore into eating meat also, and taking protein shakes and whatnot, because I worked out a lot, and I noticed I had to eat a very large amount of food to maintain any kind of gains, and then if I stopped eating in any kind of way, I'd lose pretty much everything really quickly. And after transitioning to becoming vegetarian, I was worried because I was doing a fast, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm about to lose all my strength again, or like regress pretty far. And then it was actually kind of surprising. I didn't lose any strength even with after the fast, and I felt stronger and healthier and clean. It's a different kind of feeling.
Yeah, and also we want to make sure that's not just being a vegetarian. Like there's other stuff that goes along with this. So
sure.
I wouldn't expect just if someone's a meat eater and then they switch to being a vegetarian to all of a sudden have all this energy. But I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some improvements, I think, in healthy, because we can get a little bit deeper into what is in our food, especially meats and a lot of dairy products, but in our food in general and what it is doing to our body that we probably aren't even aware of. I do want to bring some, or really quickly before we continue talking about, you have any questions for me, I guess, or?
What about you? Because for me, I didn't turn into a vegetarian until just recently. What about you?
Oh, well, I guess I probably should have had this. Okay, so I grew up vegetarian, and then as an adult, I kind of started eating meat here and there. And then maybe over the last 2 or 3 years, probably 3 or 4, maybe like 4 or 5 years, kind of transitioned back to eating more organic, whole foods again. And you really notice the difference is pretty drastic in like how your body responds and how more efficient your body is when you're eating real food, whole food, minimally processed foods, and then just less meat. I would say over my second round of being a vegetarian, when I completely cut out meat again, I feel like your thinking changes overall too. It's like you are less reactive, I want to say, and I feel more. I have to think back from when the change happened, but I feel like overall I'm more calm, and I can maybe feel the connectedness with the world more, or something along those lines. It's kind of hard to put into words, but there's a difference there, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I want to say really quickly that, interestingly enough, a lot of our ancient texts, a lot of our ancient spiritual texts mention, not necessarily vegetarianism, but they mention how God put us here and then made fruit of all kinds for us to eat. And the Bible mentions this several times. The Quran, all throughout the Quran, they mention how we were given fruit to eat, fruit of all kinds to eat. I'm going to read a quote here, and then I think somewhere, maybe even in the Bhagavad Gita or one of the other Hindu religions, they mention fruit as like our first foods. So there's a quote from the Quran. I believe it's the second chapter, the Heifer. It's verse 21. I'm going to read this whole part because it also talks about the earth plane and the canopy and whatnot. But let me just read this. It says, "People worship your Lord who created you and those before you so that you may become righteous, who made the earth a bed, the sky a canopy, and it is he who sends down rain from above for the growth of every kind of fruit for your sustenance." And they mention similar phrases throughout this book. And I wish I could find there's several spots in here too where they talk about how, and when you weren't happy with the fruit that we gave you, so we decided we gave you other animals or like vegetables and other things to eat, and you still weren't happy with that, so we gave you certain animals to eat, but we just said there's certain rules, like don't drink the blood or don't eat certain kinds of animals and whatnot. So it's like the rules expanded because people weren't happy with just fruit. They wanted a wider variety, and it kind of mentions that in this Quran several times. I'm sure it's in the Bible and in other religious texts, but I thought that was interesting. I wish I could find the verse in here. But so basically, from these religious or ancient texts, you can kind of see where in the beginning, when we were created, for our main sustenance, I think, besides just being on the earth and absorbing energy from the earth, we were getting fruit to eat. And then from there, other foods. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. What do you think?
It's pretty interesting, especially with having a child. It's like naturally she is like always requesting like
having a child. You have a little one.
Yeah, always requesting either mother's milk or fruit is the main thing, and then occasionally vegetables of various types. But
yeah, when you look at, I feel like especially with a lot of young kids, like you have to be really forceful with them to try to get them to eat other foods, like a variety of foods, like eat your vegetables or eat this and that, and eat stuff that, you know.
The indoctrination starts at a young age, right?
Yeah, I think so, because with our little one, she does only eat fruit, basically. Well, she eats other things, but her main. So I wonder, sort of like, is that like what you would naturally gravitate toward if you weren't forced to eat certain foods? Would you just eat fruit? Let's talk a little bit about, I did want to also bring up too, because we're talking about fruit and all that, and I think this has been proven many times, and I have seen that also with myself, for example, like when we fast, or we're getting more closer to sort of being out in nature more and in the sun more, you kind of notice that our bodies are actually really set up very well to get most of its nutrients from the earth, and from the sun, from the air and the water and the environment, almost as if either at some point in time, maybe years and years ago, maybe we didn't have to eat food at all, or even now, if we were outdoors more and we're sort of one with the earth more, we wouldn't have to. And I see that now. Like I said, I see that when we are out, or I say when I'm outdoors more and in the sun and sunbathing, I feel like I don't need to eat as much food.
Yeah.
You know, like actual human food. I say human food. So I feel like our bodies are set up, we're so one with the earth and the environment that food is sort of like a luxury, I think.
Yeah.
But just like any plant that's in the environment, or any, I know other animals eat plants and eat other animals and whatnot, but I kind of feel like it's almost, help me out here.
I think I know where you're going with that. It's like it's definitely more along the lines of like what we're supposed to be doing in this Earth plane as a whole. Is like just if you're out in a part of the Earth, you don't really need to.
Because you're getting, somehow we're getting sustenance and nutrients and energy from the environment when we're out in it more.
Yeah.
Like I know that for sure. Let's see.
But I definitely see also that I eat way less than I used to, and I have plenty of energy from it as well. So if I'm out in the sun, also it's like I eat less as well. I don't feel hungry. I just eat sometimes because either I'm bored or I just want to taste something that is delicious.
There's another part where, or research that I've been looking at as well, where basically when you eat food, it causes a chemical reaction in your body. And this is the whole process of digestion and elimination and whatnot, right? But you have to think of that whole process. It's when you're taking energy away from maybe more important things like cell repair and synthesis of different compounds and proteins and whatnot, or oxygenation and other, cellular processes to digest and process this food in the digestive tract, and then eliminate it.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that from a different, you think about it from the point of, okay, so you're taking all this energy to process this food, and then you crap out most of it. It seems like, right? that uses up a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So if you don't put any food in there to begin with, are you, by any chance, not disrupting
the natural flow of things?
The natural flow of your body rhythms, or disrupting them less when you put less food in there?
Yeah.
Okay. We can keep going.
I can definitely see that. It's like you probably noticed yourself. It's like if you eat a large amount of food, it almost feels like your body's ready to shut down. You get like this whole I'm tired, I need to sleep. It's like it almost like zaps all of your energy.
Well, yeah, because it takes a lot of energy to digest food.
Yeah.
And I guess my point in it is saying that this may not be like a normal thing that we're supposed to be doing, because it does take a lot of energy and blood supply and all that to focus on your digestive system. And
maybe it's not something that we should be doing.
Yeah, and then when you look at also from the point of, we were talking about fruits earlier, we already know that, of course, liquid food is the easiest to digest, or just sometimes people do water fasts and they do just fine on them. Some people fast for months. There's been people who fast for months and months on just water, and I guess they're out in the sun a lot, or out in nature a lot, and maybe they're getting their energy from that. But that, obviously, water is the easiest to digest because you're not really digesting. It's just, you're filtering it into your body. Fruit is the next on the line, and then vegetables, and then maybe dairy, and then, or maybe meats, and then dairy is probably the last. Because dairy, even though a lot of people like dairy, it is quite an inflammatory food. Like, it does cause quite a bit of, and so does meat. And I guess going down that line, as you go back up to the top, those are the least reaction, or the least reactionary of the foods. So I guess what I would say, food is obviously the easiest food to digest, and it's that way for a reason, because I think that was our first food as human beings on this planet, right? I think nowadays, because it's turned into more like a food eating discussion instead of more like vegetarian, but I do want to get into like food in general, because I feel like we eat so much food, our society eats so much food, and we have the food pyramid that tells us what to eat and how much to eat and all that kind of stuff, and that I think is part of the whole, I guess, called agenda, or the whole it's a distraction method, I think. We're being told that we need food to live, and we are dependent on eating certain food groups and certain amounts of certain food groups to stay healthy. We need our proteins, we need these foods and make sure we get these vitamins and minerals from, and yada yada yada, and that may not be true at all, right? So basically we're living in a society now where we have our bodies have become really dependent on food because, and also so we move from living mostly outdoors and being outdoors a lot to we all live in houses now. We work from 9 to 5, and so we come home at night and come to our houses, so we're hardly outside at all where we would theoretically get our nutrients and energy from the earth. We don't come in contact with that anymore. So I mean, maybe if we didn't eat food and we were still living lifestyle where we are now, maybe we would starve to death, But I don't think we're set up to do that. But our lifestyle is set up to where our bodies are highly dependent on food to eat food, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But I think the whole being dependent on eating food sets us up for sort of taking that energy, or our our body has to focus on digesting food so much that we're taking it away from keeping our body, I guess, in a tip-top shape, right? Our cell repair and all that stuff. The energy is being taken away from that to digest so much food that we're eating. And that could be, I think, leading to making us ill. What do you think about that?
Definitely. When you look at like even some of these cheaper versions of food, people don't have a lot of time, so they go to fast food restaurants and whatnot. It's like you get like a standard combo meal at like McDonald's or whatever. It can easily push you over like 1,500 calories for a single meal. And the thing about it also is like a lot of stuff isn't even like real food.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like, what is calories anyway? Really, like, what does that even mean?
Not really much of anything. It's just the kind of like the volume of food you're taking in is what the problem is. Because like when you eat like a couple apples versus which you'll feel kind of full after eating just like 2 apples, versus you can eat a double big or a Big Mac with large fries and a soda, and that will fill you up the same as like 2 apples. But the volume is much, much greater.
And the quality of food is much, much less.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back into eating meat again. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it. I feel like because clearly we don't need meat to survive. We don't need it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this agenda or this idea, or I guess we're being pushed to think that we need to eat meat or have some kind of protein in our diet to be healthy, and build strong bones and whatnot. And that couldn't be further from the truth. But there's a big push to eat a lot of meat, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is, I believe, a lot of our food is chemically processed now. Even our fruits and vegetables are becoming like genetically modified and whatnot too. But where they get you is the meat. That's probably the easiest to screw around with. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, it's definitely something that people don't even really question too much either. It's like the size of like chicken wings has quadrupled. Chicken breasts are like filled with all types of different chemicals and everything. People commonly know about like the hormones being pumped into beef and pork, and feeding turkeys overabundance amounts of food until their legs snap and they just like sit there and just eat until they die and they get harvested. It's like, but the thing about it also is like how they harvest the meat off these animals as well. It's like there's a process in all bodies that comes with fear and agitation, irritation, anger, that will cause different hormones and chemical reactions in the body that I think these people know about.
Of course they do. I'd say definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Because and this is where we start getting and talking about this idea of bioenergy, or cell memory energy that or memory that's within our cells. And so if we ingest, and it's in cells and other cells, any living animal or plant, and so whatever that being experiences, that becomes part of them, and it's in their cellular memory. And so when you put that into something else, it becomes a part of that too.
Exactly.
And so you're talking about
it's like there's videos of like before a pig gets slaughtered, they'll like kill their piglets right in front of them, which obviously is going to show the mother is going to obviously be like fearful, like saddened and stricken by the whole visuals of its babies being killed and then the prospect of itself being killed, and those memories live inside of this animal, which also on top of that they pump full of hormones and steroids
and feed
and
garbage, and their whole life is about being tortured and bullied and kept in these small cages. And basically the whole food animal industry, the mainstream food animal industry, there's a purpose behind how they treat these animals, and
Yes.
they try to say, well, it's for money and space, and they're trying to save money and all this real crap, but there's a real thought out process behind how they treat these animals and how what they put into them and what they make them eat and how they make them live.
Exactly.
All of their experiences, it becomes our experience when we ingest these animals, basically.
And they even feed ground up parts of these other animals and feed them to them as well. So it's like it's whatever wasn't given to us before is going back into these animals that are having, it's like a massive cycle of negative, horrible energy that these animals are having to deal with. And then we eat that and it comes into us. But some people might say like, well, I don't know if I would believe that these energies would affect the meat like that, but they have on record also just for plants, if you say positive things to a plant while it's growing, it'll grow very nicely, very beautifully, very symmetrical. But if you say horrible negative things to it, you can actually have it deform itself. You can kill it. It's like just words to a plant.
Words, and it's the energy behind those words.
Exactly. The words, the energy.
The vibration in those words.
So imagine like physical, like straight up abuse and horrible words, beatings, and all types of stuff, and then chemicals pumped into them and also feeding them energies like that as well.
And then they give that to us, and we're supposed to ingest that and be a functioning, happy, healthy society. Like, putting those together, it doesn't work. I mean, we can see where a lot of the issues or misguidance, I would say, or what's kind of going on in our society, we can kind of see how this plays a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of sad because I wish people would, and I think people are starting to figure this out too, which is good. People are putting a lot of information out, and a lot of even other people on YouTube are talking about this a lot, but it's another piece of the way that we're being put under control and how they're kind of making, controlling the society in general, right?
It's like, if you just want to break it down to a very basic thing, let's say you walk by a pig and you kill one of its friends near it every day. It's fearful. So what do? You go and kill that pig, and it's fearful, and you feed it to people, and they become fearful of others and fearful of other people around them. It just perpetuates the idea of fear. You want to like stay away from people, stay away from friends, family, whatever. It's just something as simple as that.
And it goes back to this energy. Everything's energy. We're all energy, and there's vibrations, energy that we can't see, but it's in all of us, and it's transferred between us. We can ingest it, we can inhale it. It's kind of like in Star Wars, it's like the Force, right?
Yeah.
The Force, right? And it's a real thing that we really need to start waking up to. It's like this is real. Like, there isn't just, we go to work every day, we come home, we pay our bills, and we eat and go on vacation and save for retirement. Like, that's not life.
No.
Right? There's much, much more to all of this than what we have been told, and it's being kind of kept. We're being kept under this. In this, we call it. Some places we call it the Matrix, or the Maya Matrix. We're being kept in this matrix system, and we're not really experiencing what life really is, which is all about. Well, it's much more than what we know right now. We'll get into more in other discussions, but It's very interesting stuff. But I do hope that people who listen to this, if you're not already vegetarian, I would maybe consider it just because of the things we've talked about. I think that you can't, and I think something about also ingesting meat kind of hurts you in a spiritual way too. Like it hurts, I don't want to say hurt, but it does something to your soul evolution or your enlightenment process, your spiritual evolution, I believe.
Yeah, it's like if you were a light bulb, it's like putting a layer in front of it so it's like you don't shine as bright.
Well, yeah, and that's as far as like the main diet that most people eat. Your chemically over processed foods, your microwave dinners, your meats, all that stuff. It does something to your energy that you put off. We're very energetic beings, and we're very connected to the earth and the environment and the spiritual realm, really. But when we eat these foods, that have no energy in them, that, like I was saying, are chemically processed and have all genetically modified, and they don't come directly from the earth. We ingest these things, and that significantly stifles the amount of energy we're able to emit as energy beings, right?
Yeah.
So like the whole light bulb reference you brought up, we shine really brightly in our, I guess, most enlightened state, perhaps. But when we put these chemicals in our body and we sit in front of TV all day and we eat gross food, that dims our light very significantly.
And we stay out of the sun and
that goes along. Stay out of nature, stay inside, sit in front of the TV, eat gross food and lots of gross food that dims down our energy. So we're kind of overall functioning at a very limited part of our overall capacity,
Yeah.
But I would say, I think that was the biggest thing, but another thing of being vegetarian or vegan or whatever it is you want to do, anyone who's thinking about becoming vegetarian or vegan, don't do it to save the animals. Even though that's a good reason, because we have to respect other living beings in this realm that we're in, but you have to look at it from a spiritual, and don't do it to be healthy, quote unquote, right? Because you're doing it if you don't do it from the point of spiritual evolution, sort of, or spiritual enlightenment, then you're gonna miss the point of it. I feel like. Because when I grew up vegetarian, we were just vegetarian just because. And that's why I think I started eating meat for several years of my adult life, and then only when I started to realize the spiritual importance of being vegetarian, that it actually sunk in and became actually very, very important. Okay, because there's more to it than just, like I said, trying to be healthy or whatever. Yeah.
That's definitely when I started transitioning to being vegetarian and to vegan as well. Is more than just I want to save the plants and save the animals or whatever. I was looking for spiritual enlightenment. I wanted to understand who I am and where I am and what I'm supposed to be and where we're going in this world. And the only way when you start to do more research on like who we are as people and like what we're doing here and what we're capable of, it's like if you really want to go in the direction that we're supposed to be, it starts leading you down that path of becoming vegetarian, vegan, eating less, fasting more, and
it's like a natural progression almost. And I don't want to make it seem like that, you shouldn't be vegetarian unless you're only trying to be spiritual. Like if you want to be kind, that's a good reason too, like I said, to be respectful and kind to our other inhabitants of this planet, right? And also to be healthy, because being vegetarian, you kind of automatically being healthier. Your body's going to be healthier. But where the cuts to the core of the importance of being a vegetarian is the spiritual aspect of it, and that doesn't just help yourself. I feel like it helps everyone, because when you do it from that place, you are, I don't want to say becoming more, you're more connected maybe with the divine
you're like truer to
somehow,
yourself, and then people, it's like
that kind of energy spreads.
It,
I feel like that kind of energy spreads. Just I mean, I guess I hope it spreads. I hope that kind of energy spreads to where it's kind of like infectious. It gets to other people, but because that sounds, when you say it that way, it almost sounds like, whoa, you're being really selfish by wanting to be vegetarian for your soul. But when you think about it from the point of, it's not just my soul, it's like everybody's soul, the whole planet, the whole earth. So it's kind of a all-inclusive sort of thing,
Yeah,
it sounds really hippie-ish, but or whatever you want to call it. But
you're in like a dark, massive room, and all of a sudden you see a light start to pop up. It's like people or other things will start to gravitate towards that light and want to understand that light. Maybe they can become a light themselves.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, that's the way I see it, is like, if I can be bright and someone can see what I'm doing, maybe
they can become that too. Yeah. And that, I feel like it doesn't work the same way if you're just doing it to be healthy or for other reasons, to be a PETA person.
It's cutting off the whole idea.
You're missing the big picture, I feel like, with other reasons. But overall, like as we were saying in the beginning, the concept of, what we talked about before, eating fruit comes up a lot in a lot of spiritual texts, ancient spiritual texts, and like a lot of the older texts that comes up as fruit being our first food. And, what do you call it? Not surprisingly, fruit is the easiest food to digest for us. And then it kind of goes from there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that people should be looking into, for sure. Pay attention to the foods that you're eating. If you are a meat eater, eat organic food, something that's been farm raised. And then because all of this is about, keep going back to, it's not just about being healthy and being kind to the animals. It's about that too, but we're going to miss the whole point if we don't understand that this is about spiritual growth, or spiritual, what word am I looking for? Spiritual evolution, spiritual connectedness. We're going to miss the whole point, basically. So we need to keep that in mind while we learn more things and realize what's really going on in the world around us, all the lies we've been told to keep us distracted from being who we really are as human beings on this earth plane. But one way to kind of head back toward in that direction, I think, is a lot of us need to look at the foods that we're eating, kind of change or evaluate what we're eating and how we're eating, and just kind of think about how potentially, just being out in nature we can get a lot of nutrients from being out in nature. But some things to think about for everyone. Any other last minute things to add to this discussion? I don't know if we covered everything here.
Mostly it's just like, I'm very happy with transitioning away from meats. Like it was something that I was eating all the time, and I love, especially when I first started turning to vegetarian. It's like I would still think about like how juicy and delicious a nice steak would be, but then as time went on, now I don't even have any kind of cravings for meat at all. It's like, and I eat less, but the thing is, like,
and you look better. I could see, like, from a year ago to now, like, you look, I don't bring back the healthy thing again, but you look better overall. Like, you look healthier, and there's more energy that you give off, and you seem more calm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I don't know, but I think I might also I know my level of calmness has gone down, and my energy overall is a lot higher.
Yeah. I even noticed from going to my classes, like classes got easier, a lot easier. I used to stay up really late studying, and then after turning vegetarian, I started staying up way less, and my grades went up.
Other things too, right?
Well, there's other things I was doing on top of that, but that was a part of the transition.
Very interesting stuff. Things that we definitely, while people are trying to a lot of us are out there trying to figure out kind of decipher truth from lies and kind of figure out what's really the world's really about, and this is part of it. So people are on this truth journey to ultimately it's all about us being connected in one, and peace on earth. That whole idea is actually something that we can get to, because that's who we are. That's the kind of beings that we are. But something's happened with our world that we've been distracted and somehow just made to believe that we are what we are right now, which is kind of 9 to 5 people that get sick all the time and all that kind of stuff. But go to the doctor all the time. We rely on the Western medical system, and we have to make money to be happy and all that kind of crap. But anywho, I don't think I have any last minute anything to add to this. I think, but yeah, I guess that's it for today. Again, this is wrapping it up here. Truth and Oneness discussions with Aquarius
and Scorpio.
Yeah, and we'll see you all next week, and hopefully people get something out of this discussion. Like I said,
what are we going to talk about next week?
Actually, some interesting things that I've been coming across with this whole enlightenment movement with the Hollywood media that we'll talk about. And there's this whole transgender like thing going on. And it gets real interesting, and we'll maybe talk about that a little bit next week, because there's so many lies out there, and it gets really weird, but we have to kind of dig through all this stuff to figure out so we can know truth from not truth, so that we can get away from this stuff, because it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's entertaining if you don't take it too seriously, but the thing is, it's serious because we're really being screwed over as humanity, because so many people believe this stuff, and almost like you've sold your soul to, like, not really sold your soul, but you don't think about your soul or anything, that kind of stuff anymore, because you've been told reality is science and TV and all this stuff. So, but we'll talk about more of that next time. Till next time, everyone, have a good whatever, and we'll see y'all next time.